Well, this is the start of the 100-hour inspection of the B-drive gearbox on a 582 Rotax engine. This gearbox has 228 hours on it. At 115 hours, opened it up, did a thorough inspection on it, found many shims worn, had galling on it. Replaced those shims, restored the gearbox back to factory specs with new angular rings and half rings, as well as shims and a new seal in it. What we're doing today is a tear down for the 200-hour inspection, which Rotax highly recommends the replacement of the 12 Belleville springs in here. So with that, we'll start to tear down. The prop has already been removed. Starting to drain the oil out of the gear case. And this is removal of the drain plug, drain the oil out of the system. Once the gearbox been drained of all oil, you can start by removing the bolts on the gear half case. Take all those out, and we'll separate the case with a rubber mallet. The case now separated using the rubber mallet to lightly tap on it and break it loose. Let any additional oil drain from the system here, and then we'll remove the half of the gear case. With the case now separated, we can start a detailed inspection of the gears, the case, and the bearing. The other half of the case here, we'll be disassembling that in a little bit to inspect all the components and point out all the wear points, what needs to be looked for, and what should be replaced on the other side of the gear case. Next thing we're going to do is compress the dog ear, compress the 12 Belleville springs on it, remove the half rings and the angular ring and the dog gear from the gear case half, and disassemble and inspect all the components. Further disassembly of the half the gearbox with the components out, the dog gear out, inspecting it, the angular ring, shims, and half rings are out. There is noticeable wear on the components, but again, we'll get them all apart. We'll mic them and see exactly how much they have worn, and we'll point out the worn areas. Well, the dog gear has now been removed from the case, exposing the shaft. Belleville springs have now been removed. Gives us a clear shot down into the half of the case here. There is still white lithium grease present, as well as anti-seize on the shaft, which is a good thing. On the initial teardown at the 100-hour inspection, there was no noticeable white lithium grease on the Belleville springs, as well as anti-seize on the components that it should have been on, in reference with the tech manual. So this time we have it totally disassembled. I'll finish removing any shims out of the bottom, and we'll take a look at all the wear on the parts and mic all the components. Well, here we go again on the reassembly of the B-drive gearbox. As you can see, we have our manual in front of us with all the components, and I've already preloaded the drive to give me an idea what I needed for shims on here in order that the half rings are just snugly fit into the groove on the takeoff for the propeller shaft. As you can see, we have brand new components here. We have our half rings, angular rings, thrust washers, our dog gear, and at 200 hours, Rotax recommends replacing the Belleville springs on here. So these are all brand new. We have our distance ring and our 3 shims. So like I said, I've already fit this together, dry fit it to get exactly what I needed for shims, and we're going to start reassembly of this. In your manual, it calls for you to coat these components here with anti-seize and white lithium grease. I'm going to start reassembly here in just a second. I start with this is a military grade high temp anti-seize, and what I use is a paintbrush to coat the spleens and the components that are required to have anti-seize on them. So with that, I'll go ahead and coat these components, and I'll start this video. I have the first washer, the face of the bearing coated with anti-seize. I have the first spacer coated with anti-seize, as you can see that down in there. And I'll show you how I'm doing this. I usually squirt a little bit of anti-seize on a clean rag, and I use this brush here to coat it generously. And I'll take and flip it over and do the same with the other side. With that done, I'll take it, slide it on the shaft, and then again I'll take some anti-seize and make sure that's coated real well. Again, I'll take the next shim, lay that on there, spray a little more anti-seize down here, coat the next shim, turn it over and do the next side.